Hello, Baker Economics students. Hope everybody is having a good weekend. And for this week and week 3, we're already almost approaching the halfway point of the course. So these courses go so quickly. So just make sure to stay on top of the forum discussions, the homework, and the quizzes, and have those done by Sunday at midnight. And for the homework, just make sure just a reminder, you have a 3-day grace period, late period on that. So make sure to get that done early. I know situations come up, but just stay on top of things and you'll do well in the course. So with this week, we're going to look at chapters 21 through 23. I really enjoy researching and looking at the macroeconomic variables. And I put some links out there this week for you. One is just the economic calendar. So for this week, if you're watching in the financial news, just kind of pay attention to core consumer price index or prices, jobless claims. So every week there is information related to economics, macroeconomics, economic indicators, and some are off the wall. If you want to read some interesting ones, look at the leading lipstick indicator and the men's underwear index. These are some more humorous ones, but they're the traditional ones that deal with the topics that we're going to look at this week, like GDP, inflation, unemployment. So for that first chapter 21, it's going to look at gross domestic product, and the textbook's going to walk you through the aggregate expenditures approach first. And the idea of this formula is that we have C plus I plus G plus net exports. So it's consumption, investment, not from stocks and bonds perspectives, but investment from building a new warehouse, a new building, inventories, homes. And then you have government spending, which makes up a large part of our economy, not the biggest part. Consumption's about 2/3 of our economy. And net exports is we have, in that case, the imports minus the exports, because we have to subtract out what is not made in the United States. Basically, I want you to think of GDP as everything that's produced in the United States borders, regardless of who owns that method of production. So we're looking at those final goods and services produced. And in this chapter 2, you're going to look at the concept of income approach 2. So it's an alternative way, aggregate expenditures approach. The C plus I plus G plus net exports is the most common one. But we can also look at it from a different perspective, from the income approach, and then be the same results. One of the things that I put out there, one of the things I want you to think about to get out of this course too, I've taught other personal finance courses in the past, and it's this idea of trying to maintain your standard of living and improve your standard of living over a period of time. There's something called like modern portfolio theory. Just like within an economy, you don't want things going up and down, these big swings. You kind of want to go on this path to slowly smooth things out over a period of time. So just out of something of interest, I put an Edmunds True Cost of Own out there website. It's not required, but you may find it interesting. And especially today, I saw an article about a month ago just how expensive new cars are today. I mean, I went to a Toyota dealership and like $45,000 for a Highlander. Some of them have leases and not leases, but payments you can go on for years. And you have to ask a question, like in modern portfolio theory, is this going to maximize my level of happiness? Or am I acting rationally when I buy this car? Or am I really thinking about, wow, how much is this truly going to cost me over my lifetime, and what am I sacrificing or giving up just to have something that gets me to point A and B? Cars are important to us. It's part of American culture, but there are trade-offs. So you get a chance, check it out. It's interesting to see, when you look at all the numbers, at least can help you, I'd say next to a house, the car is the next major purchase in our life. So, just choose wisely to make sure this is within your budget constraints and that you're making good choices to maximize your utility, what we like to say in economics, level of happiness over a long period of time. Chapter 22, you're going to get into understanding how the unemployment rate is calculated. If I believe it's still done this way, it's by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They actually only survey 60,000 people, but that's a large amount to be statistically significant. And right now our unemployment rate's at 3.8%. So our economy is humming along right now, so that's a good thing. Obviously, there's concern of inflation kicking in. That's something we'll talk about later with monetary policy. But, for this chapter, I want you to really kind of hone in and think about like potential output. There's only so much we can produce in a given time period with limited resources and technology, but that can change in future time periods. The last chapter, chapter 23, the Consumer Price Index. So I put out a link out there for the Federal Reserve Bank in Minneapolis. I really like the link. It kind of looks at if you thought back about a movie that you saw, like I'll use an example, back in the 80s, I think I saw The Empire Strikes Back, and I probably paid, $2 or $3 to see that. If movies had stayed with the price of inflation, what you'd see is that the cost of a movie today should probably only be about $6, but we know in reality it's much more than that. But there's also quality differences in movies too, and there's other factors. So inflation is a concern because it erodes our income, the wealth effect. So we want to try to keep that under control. But what you're going to look at in this chapter is how to understand how to calculate that CPI. I want you to think of it this way. Just think of a basket of goods, just very simple. Here's a hot dog that cost $1, a Coke that cost $1. That was 2018. Next year, the Coke cost $1.25 and the hot dog is $1.50. So we look at the cost of the previous basket compared to the cost of the new basket. And after that, we look at that percentage change. That's essentially what CPI is, the Consumer Price Index. So concerns obviously are that if my wages stay the same and prices go up, I am actually worse off. So if you were to get a pay raise, if you get a 3% raise and inflation is 3%, you're still the same. But if you get a 1% raise and the inflation rate is 3%, then you're actually worse off. So these are concerns for economists because they have wealth effects. So we want to try to at least stay at that par or do better if we're to improve our standard of living. So the last I'll just kind of wrap up is the textbook mentions the difference with nominal and real. And nominal is actual. So if I look at GDP and what is produced in the economy, GDP is measured by the final goods and services times their prices. But to give you a simple example, let's say I have a Robinson Crusoe economy. All we do is pick coconuts. If in the first year the price of the coconut was $1, 100 was produced, that's a nominal GDP of 100. Next year the price of the coconut goes up to $2. We still produce 100 coconuts. Nominal GDP is 200. So on paper it looks like our GDP has doubled, but the reality is it was all attributed to a price increase. So we produced the same amount of coconuts, but now they're just $200. So we have to net out that price increase, and that's what we do with real GDP. Is look at what is actually produced more and what was due to the price level. And the same thing, thinking about interest rates and your rates of return, we net out the inflation. The quick and dirty is if you had a CD that paid 5%, the inflation rate is 3%, then the real rate of return is close to 2%. But there's a Fisher equation that you have to actually take 1 plus the nominal rate over the denominator, 1 plus the inflation rate minus 1. And that gives you a true cost of a real rate of return. So, okay. Well, that's it for this week. I want to say that I really enjoyed your forum discussion post. I'm trying to get in there and to reply to everyone. Again, there may be some weeks that I may not be able to get into reply to every single person, but continue with the forum discussion. You all are doing a great job. A lot of great articles you're posting out there. But if you do have any questions, do send me an email. Otherwise, have a great week, and I will talk to you online.